helping you to weather good and bad economies without putting retirement on hold. This is the Tumolo Financial Podcast with Ken and Nick Tumolo. Ken and his son Nick know that creating a comprehensive financial plan can align your hard-earned life savings with your retirement goals. Consider them your retirement architects. Now, the Tumolo Financial Podcast with Ken and Nick Tumolo.
One of the biggest decisions that retirees face is how much to withdraw each month without having to worry about running out of money in the long run. A guy named, you might have heard his name, Bill Benjamin, he came up with the 4% rule. This was back in 1994, though, so this rule is a few years old. He was telling Bigger Pockets Money podcast that number is often misunderstood. Here's what he said.
The original 4% rule, which I've upgraded now to 4.7%, is really the worst case in history. My database goes back 100 years. I studied 400 retirees in a period of time, and only one of them was stuck with that awful low rate of 4.7%. All the rest could take out higher, many much higher. So when you use that rule, make sure that you know what you're doing. It's ultra conservative, and you probably can do better off with a higher withdrawal rate today.
This is really interesting what he was saying, guys, because I think it's a testament to the message you're constantly delivering of when it comes to blanket advice, a lot of it, it's okay advice, but we need to find out what's going to work for you specifically. So how do you figure out withdrawal strategy? What do you base that on for the folks that you meet?
I wish it was that easy.
Okay. Right. I know.
So I mean, rules of thumb, and that's what he's doing. It's just throwing out there, hey, it's if you take out 4%, you should be okay. Mm-hmm. So a few things that could go wrong. One, what about the tax planning? If you're just taking 4% out, not planning around taxes, you could be paying more in taxes and not even knowing it. So that's why I always say, hey, it's not. There are some flaws in it, but if you're someone that just saved a little bit for retirement, then that 4% rule might be the way to go. Okay. If you're someone that saved a lot for retirement, most likely you want to incorporate tax planning into it. Because you'll keep more money in your pocket. You'll pass more on to loved ones. You'll also get to do more if you want to with the money. So tax planning's missing in it. The other problem that we run into, and Nick, you're going to love me for this one because it's one of your statistics, and you're probably going to guess that time period, 1999 to 2012.
They call it the lost decade, right?
Sort of, but okay. Nick, why don't you just talk about it? This way I'm not stealing your data.
Okay.
Yeah, I found just because we had two major recessions back in 2001 and 2007, 2008, there's a 13 and a half year period that the market made nothing.
Right.
I think it was around 14. Actually, I just did it a couple days ago. 1418 was the S&P index. 1999 to 2012, it was 1418 again. Yeah, obviously that doesn't include dividends and interest, and that could be a couple of percentage points. But still, would your plan last if you only made a couple of percentage points just because of dividends and interest and the market doing nothing? Right. Especially if you do retire 1999. Mm-hmm. If you retire in 2012, and I'm sure my dad will say this too, you retired 2012, the market's done 12+% the last 13 years. So you don't know what decade you're going to retire. So I'll let my dad keep going with that.
Yeah. But I figured instead of taking his little piece of data that he ran, and as you can tell, we like data, so we like messing around with spreadsheets. But
fortunately, and the work that you do is all about data and numbers. Yes, I'm glad that you
do. Yeah. So let's just paint a quick picture, and a lot of it runs around the Tumolo Financial Retirement Checkup, which we do complimentary for listeners. Our number 860-854-3434. And our website, it's a nice, easy place to go get schedule an appointment, tfcheckup.com. But let's just paint a little picture. Let's pretend you retired in let's just say 2000. And then we had those two big recessions, one in 2001, market went down 54%. 2008 went down 52%. But let's just say the market made nothing. Mm-hmm. And then we're using Bill's rule of thumb, where we can draw now that he says it's 4.7%. Mm-hmm. Market's making zero. For 12 years, you're pulling 4.7%. Likelihood of success is probably in the 10 to 20% range. It really drops the likelihood of success. You'll run out of money. And so that's why the rule It's a great rule as long as the market's performing.
Okay.
And as long as the market just averages out.
Okay.
And the big thing about averaging out, you could take a 40-year period of time and you're just fine. I met a couple back in, this was probably 2013, and I felt bad for this couple. They came in and he had retired in 2008 with a lot of risk, had $1 million. And I wasn't an advisor for him back then. And by the time I met him, he was down to I think it's like 220,000. And it had to support him and his wife. So he retired in 2008, took a beating. The advisor kept saying, if the loss is on paper, the loss is on paper, it'll come back, it'll come back. His account kept going down and down and down and down. Then they pulled out of the market completely around the bottom back then. Took a long time to go back in the market. And then the advisor was actually taking a speculative risk, is what I want to call it, with his money to try to build it back up.
What does that mean, speculative risk?
Just investing in things that probably he shouldn't have been investing in, just to try to make a bunch of money.
Okay.
It's like buying a new stock that comes out that, hopefully the company makes it. It might not.
Okay. Yeah. Just a lot of extra risk. Got it.
Yeah. So by the time I met them, they came in and both of them are like, we had enough. We got to figure out what to do. And based on their lifestyle, you projected it out. They would run out of money about 77, 78 years old. So the thing is knowing that a lot of people live longer than that these days. Unfortunately with them, I had to say, well, we can cut back the risk, but the most important thing, because the point that we're at with you and both of you aren't working, was really to look at expenses. And I hate that conversation. Yeah. Because like you hear me and Nick all the time, we want people to spend in retirement. Yes. We want them to have fun. Yeah. So yeah, I just wish I met them, back, pre-2008, and then we could have put some things in place for them. This way that wouldn't have happened. So yeah, again, it all starts with that retirement checkup. You got to know your numbers, and then you got to know how much risk you can take. And again, we do a complimentary. Our number 860-854-3434 or tfcheckup.com, and you could book an appointment right there.
I think it's a good starting point, the 4%, but where people really don't look at it too is, so let's say you had, I don't know, $2 million, take 4% out, that's $80,000. Where's that money coming from too? Is it coming from tax deferred? Is it coming from Roth? Is it coming from somewhere else? It's coming from an IRA. You really might be only getting 60 to 70,000 of that because of tax. Roth, you're getting the true 80. So sometimes that too, you got to look at when you're looking at it. Age depends on it, lifestyle. And I've actually got this question a lot. That's why I wanted to kind of talk about this today too, was a lot of people bringing it up. I don't know if all these blogs been putting it out or websites, MSNBC, Yahoo, stuff like that, because I've seen 3.5% lately. And then you hear Bill and he said 4.7. I've heard people say 5. I've heard people say 3. So there's a lot of numbers out there. That's why I said I think 4 is a good starting point. But you want to still get that plan built out. That's why my dad goes over that Tumolo retirement checkup. Like I had a client come in. This was like 4 years ago. And when we built out the plan at the end of it, it ended up being she was taking out 5%, her and her husband, and they're 70. Where at 60, that might not work for them. Okay. So that's where kind of building that plan out and getting a plan set in place gives you a little more insight. That's why I say 4%, I think, is a good starting point to kind of, start the planning process. But implementing that plan will really go to show, maybe 3.5 makes me feel more comfortable. Maybe 4.5 makes me feel more comfortable if those big things come up. Because the other thing too is you don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes something big might happen, bad things, roof on the house. Good thing you might want to take an extra trip with the family. Yeah. So that's where I kind of lean on that 4% as a starting point. But that's where we want to do that implementation of building out that plan, that Tumolo retirement checkup that we do complimentary. Once again, our phone number is 860-854-3434. Or you go to our website at tfcheckup.com.
Does the 4% rule apply to you? Do you have questions about the 4% rule? Is it a good strategy for you? As Nick was pointing out, it's a good starting point, but Everybody needs to run the numbers on their own savings to discover how much you can actually withdraw. Because what if you're sitting there withdrawing 4% and you could be withdrawing 5, 6, 7%? This is why you want to have your own Tumolo Financial Retirement Checkup on your savings so that you know how much you can withdraw and spend in a plan that's going to work to ensure you won't run out of money. Again, that number you're dialing, 860-854-3434. If you're within 5 to 10 years of retirement and have saved $500,000 or more, this is where you're really going to see the power of the kind of planning that they do at Tumolo Financial kick in. So let's get to work helping you plan your own income and withdrawal strategy. 860-854-3434. Call right now to reserve a spot on the calendar for yourself. You can also find us at tfcheckup.com.
Investment advice offered through Tumolo Wealth Management, a Connecticut-registered investment advisor. Content contained herein should not be construed as an offer or solicitation for investment advice or for the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. Please consult with a qualified financial, tax, accounting, or legal professional before implementing any ideas or strategies discussed here.